Welcome to this video series introducing the aggregate supply and aggregate demand model of macroeconomics. Many people consider the business cycle to be a somewhat predictable ebb and flow of the economy. Every few years, a recession hits, and every few years, an economic boom is present. Like the tide of the ocean, the economy rises and then falls. But the business cycle is not predictable in this way. It is the result of many interacting macroeconomic variables. We're going to study those factors that go into this and piece them together to try and understand the short-term fluctuations of the macroeconomy on what is called the aggregate supply, aggregate demand model. Now, the aggregate supply, aggregate demand model consists of three components: the long-run aggregate supply curve, the short-run aggregate supply curve, and the aggregate demand curve. These three will all fit on the same graph and give us the aggregate supply, aggregate demand model. The aggregate supply, aggregate demand graph has price level on the vertical axis and output on the horizontal axis. Now note that the price level is not the same thing as price. In microeconomic graphs, you will often see on the vertical axis price. Here we have price level. This is the level of prices for an entire economy as measured by price indexes. On the horizontal axis, we have output. And output is our measure of real GDP, or our production of goods and services within the economy. We're going to break down the three curves: long-run aggregate supply, short-run aggregate supply, and aggregate demand, and see how they're represented on this graphical setup. All right, so to continue on and learn more about the aggregate supply, aggregate demand model, click on the video link right over here, and we'll start talking about the long-run aggregate supply curve.